Ippo got knocked out in his very first spar versus Miata, and today he gets his rematch. In Ippo's first spar, he was able to put up a hell of a fight, but Miata, the more experienced boxer, hits him with the counter and in the match for good. While the last thing that Ippo had on his mind while he was still conscious was that he will become a pro boxer. Unc and everybody else grab some water for him, some towels, things to help him recover and wake back up, as Gramps, over with Yagi, knows that Ippo really showed his heart. He knows that Ippo's style of boxing isn't pretty. It's not gonna sell out no arenas, but it's boxers like him who give birth to the boxing dreams in the first place. Unc busts through the door, telling him that he better have been watching that entire fight, and Gramps has seen enough. He tells him to tell Ippo come to the gym every single day starting tomorrow. Personally, Gramps is gonna turn him into a real deal fighter before this pro exam. Over with Miata, his pops pulls up on him saying that he might have went a little overboard with that counter. That's his special move, and it was wrong for Miata to use it on a rookie. But looking at Miata's arms, they're all bruised up. Even though he was using padded gloves, Ippo's punches caused this much damage while Miata was blocking, as he says that boxing just got a whole lot more interesting for him. As Ippo regains consciousness, everybody is telling him good job, though he feels weird because he lost. He wasn't even able to land a single hit on Miata, but Unc ends up telling him that Gramps gave him the thumbs up to officially train here. Now, he's a boxer at KPG. Ippo, after everything that he's done so far and all the work that he put in order to get here, he introduces himself officially and starts crying. Fast forward to the next day and we see Ippo helping out his mom and their customers on a boat. A client is talking about how helpful Ippo is, as he's always down to help out and he's such a well-mannered kid. And Ippo's mom brings up how he asked her to do boxing recently. At first, she denied, saying that he's not really the type for a combat sport like that, but he was extremely passionate about it. The customer, apparently a long-time one, says that you just can't help it sometimes. It runs through Ippo's blood. His dad was real low-key as well, but he also had a crazy punch on him. And his mother goes back to their conversation, recognizing that Ippo's eyes were just like his father's when he was talking about boxing. Over at KBG, Ippo gets there for his very first day as he's mad nervous to enter. He's worried about what he's really getting himself into, but regardless, he knows he's gotta approach it with a positive attitude. He bursts through the door, screaming and scaring everybody there. Unc hits Ippo, telling him that he's gotta watch out. If Gramps gets scared, it might genuinely be GG's for him. He's too old to be getting scared like that. Gramps immediately tells Ippo to go to the basement, as he hands him a jump rope to get started. With this, he can start to improve his rhythm, but as Ippo does it, he's trash at it. Everybody is laughing at him, including Miata off to the side, but Gramps stops Ippo from embarrassing himself too bad. He says that he can practice jump roping in the meantime. For now, they'll head straight to mitts. The other boxers are shocked that Gramps is taking him straight into the ring, as when he gets in the ring, Ippo is scared to go all out and punch. He's worried that he might actually hurt Gramps, but Gramps ain't trying to hear none of that. He tells Ippo to hurry up or it's gonna be his ass. Reluctantly, Ippo throws one out and it makes this amazing sound. The spectators are honestly impressed and Ippo feels great about it. Gramps just smiles, saying that Ippo actually does have a pretty solid punch. Now, it's time to kick it up a notch and practice his 1-2s. As Ippo starts it up, the sounds are just as good as before, and everybody realizes that he's actually got a decent sense for rhythm, even though his jump roping was trash. But Unc can tell it's deeper than that. He knows that Gramps is purposefully using wool mitts in order to get a better sound. The sound serves as an audio cue, so Ippo instinctively learns the timing in order to improve his rhythm. And the wool itself makes a louder sound, which helps build confidence in Ippo. On top of all of that, the positioning in which Gramps is holding the mitts for Ippo to punch are the best spots for Ippo to be learning where to actually hit. His body is going to form that muscle memory, so he doesn't have to practice where to aim, it'll be natural instinct. Unc remembers when he started boxing, Gramps used those same tricks on him to learn everything that he knows now. Gramps starts to talk Ippo's head up, saying that he's doing a great job. If he landed one of these on Miata, then shit, one punch is all it would have took. But Ippo, on the other hand, is showing no confidence. He says that he could never land a punch on Miata. He's just way too fast. But Gramps can't believe that Ippo's talking so down on himself. He tells him that if they keep up this training, Ippo could catch up to Miata in only 3 months. Gramps is saying all of this extra loud with Miata in the background. He knows that Miata can hear it. Ippo is starting to get embarrassed, but Gramps doubles down. He says that he's gonna set Ippo up to fight Miata in 3 months, and Ippo is gonna win. Miata stops and turns to face them as Ippo don't know how to react. Gramps asks him if he's determined to catch up and eventually pass Miata, as Ippo says of course he wants to, but he's not really sure if he can. But Gramps teaches him that the first step, if he wants to do that, will be learning this, the uppercut. Gramps explains that Miata was able to dodge all of Ippo's punches because they were all coming from the same angle. With Ippo's stamina, if he can mix up his angles and attack from all directions, then even Miata, who specializes in defense, wouldn't be able to dodge them all. And with Ippo's power, once he lands a good hit, it's GG's. Gramps tells him that he's not looking for him to become a super specialized technical boxer. He has the strength, and that's what he's got to use. And Ippo says he'll try it. Gramps starts putting him through the motions in order to learn this uppercut. First, he's got to lean forward and bring his knees in. Then, clenching your fists close to your stomach, you stand and use the momentum from getting up to push your fist upward and take advantage of all that power. With everybody watching, Ippo begins going through the motions. He leans forward, bends his knees, brings his fist in, and with all of his power and all of his momentum, he shoots his body upwards, but completely misses the mitt. Everybody starts laughing at him, but Unk, Miata, and Gramps all notice something. Gramps tells him to do it again, and as Ippo goes through the motions, he swings, but Gramps pulls the mitt out the way. He goes flying as Ippo can't believe that he missed once again, and everybody realizes that Gramps just played him. But Gramps was trying to figure something else out. He says that Ippo's upper is similar to Jofre's. He goes back to decades ago when Gramps, in person, watched this legendary uppercut. Gramps explains that Jofre's arm, knee, and toe all ended up in a straight line. And that same uppercut proved to have deadly power. Power that no Japanese boxer up until now could replicate. And Ippo has that same punch. Gramps brings him in, telling him that he can't wait for that rematch in 3 months from now. Him versus Miata is gonna be special. Unk chimes in laughing, but all time he was supposed to be doing his own training. Gramps gets on his head, and as he leaves, he looks at Miata, who seems pissed. Unk realizes that Gramps is doing all of this right in front of Miata, not only to build Ippo's confidence, but to get that fire lit in Miata as well. Fast forward to some more training, and Ippo is hyped thinking about this match coming up. But inside the ring, this dude Miata knocks out Aoki. Aoki, it's crazy that we haven't gotten introduced to him or Kimura yet, but Aoki gets knocked out as a 6-round pro, just showing how determined and how fired up Miata is now as well. Gramps pulls up on Ippo, telling him to learn how to shadow box and do that while he's out. He doesn't really know what that is, and people are laughing at him as he's trying, so he decides to pull up on Miata and ask him. Even though they have a fight coming up, he thinks it'd be good for them to be friends since they're around the same age. But as he pulls up, Pops tells him to get out of here. He's distracted Miata from his training. Even if Miata were to teach him something, they're at such different skill levels that he wouldn't even be able to comprehend it properly. It'd mess up his own training as well. So Ippo walks off and decides to watch some other people shadow box and try and pick it up. He realizes that they're not just punching at random, they're dodging as well, as he finally concludes that they're imagining a real opponent. It's basically image training. So with his only opponent coming up being Miata, he has to start with that. But as he does shadow box, he's getting whooped in his own mind. He's doing all these funky ass moves, and Unk, seeing him do all this, don't know what he got going on, but decides to leave him be and figure it out. The next day, Ippo pulls up and sees Miata get into the ring to spar. He takes the opportunity to watch him, but as he tries, Miata is too fast for him to notice anything. He can even tell how Miata just knocked this dude down. That's how fast he was. Miata realizes that Ippo's watching and thinks to himself that even if Ippo does become stronger, he's gonna grow stronger himself as well. As Ippo heads home to think about it, he realizes that Miata has so much more experience than him. It only makes sense that Ippo wouldn't be able to keep up. He's starting to think that honestly, 3 months isn't enough time. Miata is just that good. But out the cut, his mom yells out to him while she was doing some cleaning. She found these dirty old leaves and double checks to see if she could throw them away, but Ippo runs up saying that those are his treasures. It's his memories from when he first started boxing. Thinking back to that, he realizes that he was about to fail and give up then as well, but comes to the realization that with enough hard work, he can do anything. A few days later, Miyata's back sparring in the ring, and Ippo decides to not watch the entire body, but just try to follow the feet. As they get to sparring, Ippo's closely watching, and while he can't make it out fully at first, with time, he's able to make out what he's doing specifically with his footwork. He makes out Miyata's change of direction and tries to copy it himself, but he does it all wrong. He look goofy trying to move like this. Seeing him out the back, realizes that now it's time for his legendary advice, but Graham stops him, saying that telling him what to do isn't gonna help him at all. He's got to figure this out on his own. Ippo puts his head down and just works. We see him thinking about Miyata's footwork and practicing with his shadow boxing and trying to get his image down, as the next time in the gym, he's able to pick up on Miyata's punches. Focusing on one body part at the time is helping him make out the full image of how his entire body is working to do what he does. He's continuing his shadow boxing, thinking out each and every move that Miyata would do, but still, he's ending up losing. He's able to follow and make out what Miyata chooses to do, but still doesn't know how to beat him. With more and more time, more practice put in and outside the gym, Miyata's shadow only gets more and more accurate. Miyata is of course strong, but step one is being able to capture the shadow so he can figure out how to beat it. A few weeks later, as Ippo is watching Miyata spar, he's able to predict what Miyata's doing. He's been studying him so much that he's got his fighting style down to a T. And as he continues shadow boxing, Gramps can make out that he's fighting against Miyata. Of course, he knew that he beat shadow boxing Miyata, but with his movements, he's able to tell as well. He can't believe that within just these few weeks, he's caught up to Miyata's shadow. But, of course, he still doesn't know how to beat him. Gramps is thinking to himself about Miyata's counter. If Ippo can't figure out how to deal with Miyata's counter, then his chances are as good as gone. He is improving in his regular boxing, his little neutral game, but Miyata's counter is so deadly that he has to have an answer for it or else he won't be able to win. Ippo ends up coming to this same realization, saying that if he can't beat Miyata's counter, then he's got no chance. But as he asks Gramps for advice, Gramps just laughs, and Ippo realizes that there is a way to beat the counter, but Gramps says there isn't. Ippo's not at a high enough skill level yet to be able to defeat Miyata's counter, but there is a strategy where he won't be able to use it at all. Gramps gets in the ring with them and decides to show a demonstration. He tells Ippo to stand still, and as he does all of his little funky footwork, whatever, as he's imitating Miyata, Ippo finally realizes if Ippo doesn't attack, then Miyata can't counter. Gramps explains that the counter uses your own strength against you, which is exactly why Miyata, who doesn't have a ton of power, relies on it in order to KO opponents. Gramps explains that if he draws out the match, then Miyata may end up getting impatient and it'll turn into a slugfest where Ippo will specialize. But thinking about Gramps' quote, wait out plan, Ippo isn't much of a fan. Gramps says honestly, they ain't got no choice. For somebody who only has power, this is the only way that a rookie like Ippo can win. He calls it a wrap for a day and tells Ippo to go get some new shoes. His shoes right now are about to be worn out already. So after leaving the gym, Ippo goes to do exactly that. As he's in the store, the clerk can tell that Ippo doesn't really know what he wants, so he just tries to sell him the most expensive one. But as he's about to buy it, Miata pulls up, telling him not to buy it. Not only is it overpriced, it's not even the right type of shoe for an inboxer like Ippo. He picks out a more budget-friendly, properly made shoe for Ippo's fighting style, as Ippo buys it on the spot. As Ippo thanks him, heading out, Miata buys what he needs to buy and walks out as well, but Ippo is there with a drink for Miata in order to thank him for helping him out earlier. Miata isn't trying to be seen with him, so he accepts the drink but gulps it all down in one go, walking off before Ippo could even start his. But Ippo just runs back up on him, telling him that he wants to learn a little bit about boxing. Miata says they're not supposed to talk because they're rivals. He's not going to help his rival figure out how to win, but at the same time, he does like to talk about boxing, so he'll give him a shot. Ippo just asks about Miata's backstory, wondering if his footwork is so good because he's been boxing for so long. And Miata says probably. As far as him personally, his dad was a pro boxer, so he was able to learn a lot from him. And Ippo is just in awe at the fact that Miata has a present father because he doesn't have one himself. They sit for a little while as he asks about Miata's dad, and he explains that his dad was an outboxer just like he is, though Miata can't even compare to what his dad was like in the ring. Miata's pops used to be nice, to the point where when Miata used to watch as a kid, he was, quote, mesmerized by the fights. But in a title match where his pops was guaranteed to win via points, his opponent landed a lucky punch, which ended his career. It completely shattered his jaw, and while he would have been able to make it back into the ring after a recovery, his spirit was shattered. He completely fell to the mentality that a boxer without strength can't win. And ever since that one fight, he gave up on fighting himself. Miata, as a kid, hearing his father lose all types of confidence in his style, he set out on a mission to prove that his father's style of boxing wasn't wrong. And in order to do that, using his father's style, Miata swore to make it to the top himself. Miata, day in and day out, would train, constantly losing while keeping that style until he was able to develop his timing. His timing is what allows him to do the counter, and with that, he has the strength to knock out anybody. He takes pride in his counter and the memory of his father's boxing, so he tells Ippo that he won't lose. If Ippo comes at him with power, then Miata is gonna win. Miata walks off as Ippo never knew that he had so much history and thought behind that counter. It's not just a technique to him, it's his entire reason for boxing. It's his pride as a fighter. And with that, Ippo knows that this plan that he's trying to use of keeping away isn't gonna work. The next day, he goes to KPG and is completely zoned out with his training with Gramps. He tells Gramps that he doesn't want to run from Miata's counter. Instead, he wants to fight him head on. Gramps can't believe it, but he tells Ippo that if he's adamant on it, then they'll try it. But he's gonna have to go through hell in order to get to a point where he could box with Miata without running. And it won't be easy. First off, he needs to improve his dash. He's got to do all types of running between now and the fight. If he wants to rush down Miata, he's got to catch him first. Gramps says Ippo running zigzags in order to improve his explosiveness while changing directions. After a little bit, Ippo is starting to gas out, but Gramps tells him he can't give up now, unless he wants to give up on this whole strategy and run away from Miata instead. But hearing that, he knows that he can't do it. He continues his run, but right as he gets back to KBG, Gramps has him doing some more training. He reiterates that Ippo has to improve his dash power in order to catch Miata, or else he'll never be able to fight him. And Ippo asks if that's really going to help him stop the counter, but Gramps tells him there is no way to stop the counter. He has no choice but to get hit, though he can get hit intentionally. Gramps' idea is to dash in so that he meets the hit halfway, so that Miata's punch doesn't get to fully extend and reach its full power. That's how he can mitigate the damage of Miata's counter. Gramps proceeds to walk Ippo through all types of exercises. He needs to get his durability up, and day after day, he's improving all around. He's learning more and more about his punches, but after some time, Ippo starts to gas out. He's in the showers when Unk walks in all of a sudden. He's being all loud and extra. Y'all know how Unk get. But out of nowhere, he tells Ippo, "Nephew, why you got that little towel on? This is a man's area. If you got a little Johnson, don't even be embarrassed about it. It's all good." This man Unk is swinging his own thing around, and once he realized that Ippo doesn't want to take his towel off, he picks him up and snatches it away right in front of everybody, just to see that Ippo is, quote, a heavyweight. That night, Ippo is mad embarrassed, but Unk's just telling him it's all good. No harm, no foul. Ippo's about to change up his shower schedule so that he doesn't have to ever meet Unk in there ever again, but Unk just tells him that he might not even be able to shower soon. But before he explains, they make it to this ramen spot and we're finally introduced to Aoki, a pro at KPG. Unk says that he's a pro, but he's weak as hell. He ain't had to do my guy Aoki like that. Ippo's confused as to why Aoki's working here, but Aoki explains that at his level, he's a pro, but he doesn't make enough money in order to make it a sustainable career. One day, once he's a good enough boxer, he wishes to sustain himself while owning this fancy shop rather than having to work at this quote-unquote shack. But the whole time, he's saying this right in front of the owner. That's crazy. High-key disrespectful. Unk tries some of his ramen and tells Aoki that while he may be trash at boxing, he nice with the ramen, so he got something going for him. He starts explaining to Ippo that soon he won't be able to eat much, so he needs to savor this as much as possible. With the fight coming up, he's got to start his dieting soon. Ippo realizes that that's what he meant about the showers earlier, and even his skin absorbing water will add extra weight, which he can't afford by the time of the weigh-in. Thinking about everybody, he realizes that they all have their passion and reasons behind boxing. Between Miata, Unk, and Aoki, they're all so different. And seeing this and how they do so much work, and never complain, Ippo is inspired to work harder. Ippo gets back to his training, and we get this time skip / montage of the next few months. To end the montage, Ippo is going crazy on the mitts with Gramps, eventually knocking the mitts right out of his hand. He can't believe what Ippo's turning into as he calls off their training session to take a little break. Unc tells him that he's doing wonders for Ippo's confidence by using those wool mitts, but Gramps says he stopped using those mitts a long time ago. Ippo has just improved that much in such a short amount of time. He goes to talk with Miyata's pops and settle the date on the fight, as they both agree that tomorrow is the day. Miyata's ready for it as his pops is telling him to be aggressive off the rip. He's been practicing all of this time in order to get the counter right for Ippo's uppercut, as Miyata says as soon as Ippo tries his upper, the fight is going to be over. Gramps, thinking about Ippo, believes that he's done everything that he could have within these past 3 months. All the grinding, all the effort, all the practice gets put to the test tomorrow. On the day of the fight, Ippo rushes home and tries to speed through work in order to get to the gym, and his mom can tell. She says, don't even worry about work, just go and do what he's gotta do. But we can see that Ippo is pretty nervous. He asks her if she's noticed any changes within him over the past few months, but before she even gets a chance to answer, he walks off. She knows that he's nervous about something and gives him a piece of advice that she learned from his father. She says whenever he was getting ready to fight a tough opponent, he would picture them as a fish. His father's pride as a man of the ocean wouldn't let him be scared of a fish, and both Ippo and his mother laugh at the idea, knowing how silly and goofy it is. But that was enough to cheer Ippo up and let him calm his nerves down before his big fight. As he heads off, we see a view of this man in a car. This dude is looking through a whole bunch of rookie boxers who put in an application for the pro exam, as this guy is a big boxing fan and the head writer at the Boxing Monthly magazine. He's talking to his driver about Japan and how they got a lot of great things going on, but one thing they lack is a championship belt. He's ready to see what Japan's fighters actually have to offer, and as he makes it to KBG, he explains that he's here to scout Miata. As he pulls into the gym, he meets up with Yagi when all of a sudden, Unc pulls up with this little referee outfit. He explains that Miata is actually gonna have a spar today, and Fuji, the reporter, is hyped to see it, feeling lucky that he walked in on such a busy day. They head downstairs as the spar is ready to begin. Unc is listing out the rules: 4 rounds, 3 knockdowns, and he wants both of them to treat this like a real match. They both head to their corners, and Ippo can't hear anything over the sound of his own heartbeat when he suddenly remembers the advice that his mom just told him. But as he looks over at Miata, trying to envision him as a fish, he says that no man that handsome could possibly be a fish. Nothing is popping up into his head. But out of nowhere, Gramps pulls up and he's able to imagine him as this octopus, immediately making him laugh and calm down. Gramps tells him to show him everything that he's learned over these past 3 months. Since the first day he started boxing, he's made all types of improvements, and today is the big day. Ippo's just telling himself that he can't forget all of the work and effort that he put in. And over with Miata, he's ready to see how much Ippo's grown over the past 3 months, confident that this is going to be fun. As Unc kicks the seconds out, the bell finally rings. Ippo starts by dashing in. He knows that if Miata keeps his distance and uses his footwork, he'll be able to control the pace of the fight. So the game plan is to not let that happen. Ippo is applying crazy pressure, but this dude Miata is just on a different level. He's quite literally running circles around Ippo, and Fuji, who had just seen Miata 6 months ago, is impressed with the amount of improvement that he's shown in such a short amount of time. Miata is impressed with Ippo's dash, and Ippo is impressed with Miata. He thought that he was able to capture Miata's shadow perfectly, but the real thing is way different. He notices that Miata crosses his feet and tries to predict where he's about to go, but gets completely mixed. Though as he follows it again, this time he keeps up with them. The spectators are all impressed with Miata's moves because he hasn't shown any of these moves yet. During his regular spars, he's not doing this type of stuff. But Fuji realizes this must be because Ippo is forcing this advanced footwork out of him. He's being pushed more than he does by his regular sparring partners at this gym. Ippo is keeping up with Miata, throwing out all types of punches, mixing in with his close range uppers, and it's forcing Miata to stay on his toes. Gramps formulated this plan of attack because the upper is right where Miata's guard is weakest. He has to keep his guard up in order to block the straight-on attacks that Ippo normally does with his jabs and his 1-2s, so uppercuts are his natural weakness. Miata's pops gets hot, telling him to punish Ippo for leaving his guard wide open, and as he does, Ippo, getting flashbacks to his training with Gramps, dodges the hit seamlessly, and this throws off Miata completely. And this dude Ippo responds with a clean 1-2, sending Miata down to the ropes. Everybody is stunned, Ippo included, but Unk just tells him to go to his neutral corner as he's got to start the count. Mind you, this is the very first punch that Ippo has landed versus Miata. The first spar went with 0 punches landed on Ippo's end, so he's finally hyped to get one in. Gramps is hyped too, and Fuji says that this is the first time he's ever seen Miata get knocked down. Everybody starts to cheer Ippo on for how incredible he is, and while Miata was stunned for a while, he shoots back up before Unk can count to 10, saying that he can continue. He lets Pops know that he just lost his balance. If anything, this is a decent wake-up call, letting him know that he's got to take Ippo a little more serious. As the fight continues, this has only raised the stakes. Regardless of if it was just a lucky shot or not, everybody knows that Ippo has somewhat of a fighting chance. Now, things are just that much more interesting. Ippo starts off the round trying his 1-2 again, but Miyata's not gonna get hit by the same combo twice. He responds to that 1-2 perfectly by hitting Ippo square in his face, sending him straight to the ground with this counter. As Ippo's laid out on the ground, Unk starts to count up, but as Miyata's pops start to go into the ring, he gets cut off by Miata himself. He knows that Ippo isn't finished. That same counter won't finish it like he did in their first match. Ippo now shoots up to his feet, and Gramps is glad that their training is being put to use. Ippo realizes that that was the same punch that knocked him out last time, and now he's able to get up from it. Though those last 3 months of training were grueling, they weren't for nothing. As the fight proceeds, Miata wonders why exactly that counter wasn't as effective as last time. Sure, Ippo's gotten stronger, but the counter still should have been able to use his own strength against him. He's not sure if he didn't step in far enough or maybe didn't follow all the way through, but regardless, he knows that this next one will be the last. Miata lands a quick jab, but Ippo dashes in right after, retaliating with his left. Miata can't believe that Ippo's resilience is this much higher than before. Even after a solid jab from Miata, he kept on pushing like nothing happened, and Ippo just reiterating to himself that he can't let Miata get to outbox him. That's why they did all that dash training earlier with Gramps to keep the distance between them two as small as possible. Fuji can tell that keeping the distance short reduces Miata's counter capabilities as well, but if Ippo is even the slightest bit late on his dash in, the counter will 100% get the best of him. Ippo punches as Miata blocks, but he's able to follow up with the left, connecting cleanly. Ippo gets some more confidence and the crowd is starting to get behind him, but Miata doesn't want to let him get too confident. Ippo throws a left, barely grazing Miata, seemingly knocking him off balance, but when going in to follow with his right straight, Miata weaves underneath, realizing that this is the perfect opportunity for his counter. But Ippo does exactly what Gramps taught him. Remember, there is no counter for the counter. He just has to get hit. Miata lands the hit, but Ippo stares him dead in the eye as he launches a right, connecting the best hit of the fight so far, sending this man Miata flying. Of course, Ippo takes some damage from the counter himself, but this was the lean-in technique that Gramps was telling him earlier, and it 100% worked. He goes back to his corner as Unk starts to count to 10. Fuji breaks down exactly what Ippo did. By cutting off the hitting point of Miata's counter, he was able to minimize the damage, and Miata's pops is shocked at their strategy. The first down that Miata took was a mistake on his end, but this one was all Ippo. Miata makes it back to his feet, but his legs are shaking. One more knockdown in this round, and it's a win for Ippo. The fight starts back up as Ippo has way more confidence in his ability to actually get this done. While looking at Miata's POV, he's starting to lose. He throws a punch, but Ippo dodges, retaliating with the upper, though Miata saw it coming. He begins to send out a downwards counter of his own, and as Ippo's upper grazes Miata's cheek, Miata's counter lands cleanly, sending Ippo down for his second knockdown. Now, they're tied up 2-2. Everybody's feeling all types of emotions as they're sure that Miata's finished it for good this time, but somehow, Ippo gets himself back up on his feet. Unk is checking if Ippo can continue to fight, and as he does get back up on his feet, the bell rings. The crowd is all hyped because how this match has been playing out so far. Miata realizes how much Ippo has improved, saying that he'll fight at 100% starting this next round. He underestimated Ippo far too much. While over with Ippo, he's getting carried over to his corner by Gramps. He's amazed by Miata, as always, and while Gramps is under the thought process that Ippo was so close to victory with that uppercut but got completely countered instead, Ippo, on the flip side, is amazed that he's actually keeping up with him. The first fight, he couldn't even land a single punch on him, but now, after all of these months of pain and suffering, he's able to put up a fight. His one objective is to keep fighting with Miata in the ring. Over with Fuji, he thinks that things aren't looking too good for Ippo. While they both have 2 knockdowns, they also both got the chance to feel each other out as far as their strongest punches. At this point, it's not likely that Miyata's counter is going to be that effective, nor will Ippo's upper. And with that, it's going to come down to who has more tricks up their sleeve. Miyata, with more experience, is bound to have more things that Ippo hasn't had time to prepare for. As the second round begins, Ippo starts out hot, and the crowd is rooting for both sides. Tensions have been building up over these past 3 months since this fight was announced, and for a fight between gym mates, it's just something rare to see. In the ring, Miata takes a hit and he ends up resorting to clinching, as the crowd is surprised that he's doing so, but both sides are starting to gas out. Breaks it up, but Miata gets right back to it and continues to do so until the end of the second round. Ippo doesn't know why he's doing this, but Gramps explains it's to recover from his damage. He's prepping to finish everything in this next round, so he needs the energy. For round 3, Miata has a completely different look in his eye. Ippo don't know what he's got planned, but regardless, he's got to move forward, so that's exactly what he does. Miata is feeling some more life in his legs, so he moves on with his own game plan. He lands a clean left, following with repeated punches to Ippo's core, then swiftly moves back, dodging Ippo's attempt at a retaliation hit. He continues with this pattern of this hit and run style, as he's using his superior speed and experience to hit Ippo, stack up some damage, and then move back before Ippo could throw in a punch. Miata, thinking to himself, calls out that this is the style that he loves, that style that he got from his father. Ippo continues to take on all this damage while Miata continues to play keep away, and eventually Ippo's legs start to wobble. He can't move forward anymore, and this is the result of Miata's plan. He lands not 1, not 2, but 3 hits to Ippo while up against the ropes, as Ippo, wishing that he could keep fighting, just falls to the ground. Intervenes, starting this count, as Fuji starts prepping to get his little interview with Miata after the spar. But dude that he's watching this with, I don't know who this is, points out that Ippo is getting back up to continue fighting. With his face all bloodied and bruised, he wheels himself back onto his feet, just barely getting into the fighting position, and calls for the third round to continue. Miata instantly darts in to finish the job, knowing that Ippo is on the brink of falling, but the bell rings and gets in the way. Ippo just got saved by the bell. Back in Miata's corner, Pops is surprised with that little victory pose that Miata hit after knocking Ippo down, and honestly, Miata was surprised by it too. He ain't never did something like that, but that just proves to show the emotions and the tension that's been building up throughout this fight. With Ippo's destructive power, he's got to be on edge at all times, but that just makes the victory that much more satisfying. His pops tells him that in the pro ring, that pressure is always going to be there. As thinking about Gramps, he's grateful that Miata gets this experience. Because of this fight, his first intense fight like this, it's going to cause a great shift in his growth. Pops tells Miata that he's on the path to winning, but Ippo isn't going to go down without a fight. He's got to be extra wary of Ippo's upper, and Miata says he's got a complete read on Ippo's movements. If he tries that upper again, he'll counter it and finish the fight for real this time. Over with Ippo, his nose is bleeding so bad that he can't even breathe through it. Gramps knows that this upper is gonna be useless now, as he asks him if he wants to call off the fight. If he heads out into the ring, he's just gonna get smacked up by Miata, but Ippo, thinking to himself, says that at first, all he wanted to do was keep up with him just a little bit, but now, being able to knock him down multiple times within the same fight, he's completely gone past that. He explains if he's come this far, then he might as well try to win. Gramps is surprised that he still has such a positive mentality, and as kicks the seconds out, Ippo heads into the ring, as Gramps lets him know that honestly, he can't see a world where Ippo comes out on top. But still, Ippo continues. He says that there's still one more thing that he hasn't tried yet. Gramps don't know what he's about to do, but he puts his trust in him, sending him in the ring as Miata heads in as well. The last round is about to begin. As starts it, Miata is the aggressor. Ippo blocks a punch but immediately gets sent to the ropes as Miata's intent on not letting Ippo get away. He just holds up his guard as Miata is wailing punches on him, keeping it to the point where Ippo doesn't have time to do anything and react. Miata punches and punches and punches for so long that Ippo's guard is starting to wear down, as Gramps on the side just wonders what Ippo still has left in store. At this rate, he's gonna get beaten down before he even gets the opportunity. Ippo's arms are feeling numb, and As he begins to drop his guard, Miata sees the opportunity to truly end it. But since Miata is going for a bigger punch to finish things off, his rapid-fire sequence of attacks that was going on comes to a stop, and Ippo sees his opportunity to pull that last trick right out of his bag. He gets right there in Miata's face, as Miata realizes that this motion is too small to be an uppercut. He has no choice but to throw it straight. Miata dodges to the left, but it turns out he made the wrong read. Instead of a straight, it actually was an uppercut. Miata can't believe it, but Ippo, with this short-range upper, pushes completely through, but misses. They just stare at each other for a second as the crowd can't believe what they're seeing. Miata is shocked that he threw an uppercut from that stance. It's so different from the earlier ones that he didn't even see it coming. He was late to react, but luckily, he was still able to dodge it. Ippo is realizing that it's all over, but as Miata goes through with his punch, he falls right past him, straight to the ground. As Miata's there on his knees, Ippo doesn't know what just happened, but he gets sent back to his neutral corner. Gramps assumes that that uppercut must have just barely connected. Miata's embarrassed that he got downed by such a weak connect on that uppercut, but he's still confident that when he gets back up, he can end the round. He's sort of impressed with Ippo's on-the-fly thinking, mixing up his uppercut timing so that Miata ended up making the wrong read. But now, Miata can add that to his little knowledge base so he won't get hit by it again. He starts to get back up on his feet, but his legs aren't working. Unk continues to count up as Pops is wondering what Miata's doing there on the ground still. Miata is yelling at Unk that he's gonna be able to stand, and as he gets back on his 2 feet, he falls right back over. Unk is counting up to 10 as Miata is begging him to stop. He's trying to force his legs to work, but Unk makes it up to 10, and this fight is officially over. Miata has lost, and the winner is Ippo. Everybody's congratulating him on a good job done, especially against Miata, such an experienced boxer when he just started a few months ago. Gramps is honestly impressed too, but he doesn't want to give him too much confidence. He doesn't want to gas his head up. So he gets in the ring and starts giving him this whole lecture about how he's only just now starting and his training is only going to get more intense from here on out. But this dude Ippo passes out from exhaustion. He truly gave it his all. That night, back at Ippo's place, after he tells his mom about what happened, he goes straight to bed, but can't stop thinking about that spar. And a few days later, we see Gramps and Yagi looking at these pictures that Fuji had gave them, telling them exactly how the fight had ended. They see the uppercut that connected at the very tip of Miata's jaw. Even though it was a pretty weak hit, it was enough to rattle Miata's brain to make him lose motor function in that moment. Even though he didn't lose consciousness and the hit didn't land cleanly, that 1 centimeter of impact was all he needed. As a fan, Fuji is hyped for Ippo and his development, and as Fuji leaves, Gramps is pissed that Ippo did something that he didn't teach him. But Yagi knows Gramps only gets this activated when he's truly hyped and excited for what Ippo could possibly be. In the gym, everybody sees Miata's dad heading out after packing up all of his things, and Ippo hears that Miata is leaving KPG. He instantly runs out and sees Unk telling him that Miata's leaving, and Unk is like, yeah man, if I lost to you, should I probably off myself? And Ippo can't believe it, but this dude Unk was just trolling. He says boxing ain't that serious. As Ippo just runs off, he runs around to Miata's house, but once he gets there, he doesn't know what he's gonna say. But Miata was leaving right there to go do his road work. Ippo asks if this rumor is true, if he's really gonna leave KPG, and Miata confirms it, telling Ippo that it's all his fault. But not because he won, but because if they're from the same gym, then they can't fight in the pro ring. Right now, they're tied 1-1 as he tells Ippo that they'll settle the score in the big leagues. The next time they fight is going to be at the Japan Rookie Tournament Finals. He won't have it any other way. As he runs off, Ippo just looks on, officially accepting his challenge.